Today on the Sound Health Podcast.
My dad now, and we worry about it. We worry about the cognitive abilities of both of them and everything. He can play a 20-minute Medner piece just from memory. I mean, he does it all the time. And like, whatever they say about like, you should do crossword puzzles, when you're older and it's good for your cognitive health or whatever. He's like, I don't have time because I have to learn this other piece, and the complexity of those pieces is huge. So his mind is very sharp.
Before we get started, I'd like to invite you to take advantage of a free resource I made for you. It's called the Sound Health Newsletter. In it, I share the latest research in music and health. Plus, you'll learn music and wellness exercises that you can use every day to feel your best. Just come visit me at donovanhealth.com to get started today. That's donovanhealth.com. Hey there, welcome to the show. This is Jim Donovan. I am so glad you're here. We've got a great show for you today with New York-based recording artist, writer, and lecturing professor Mike Errico. Mike is an incredible songwriter whose music has been featured extensively in film and television. He teaches songwriting at universities like Yale, Wesleyan, and NYU's Clive Institute of Recorded Music. He's toured with many artists, including Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead, Derek Trucks, and my former band, Rusted Root. Hey, Mike, welcome to the show, man. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. It's great to hear your voice.
Yeah, you too. It's been a long time, man. Really enjoyed the times we got to tour together, and we'll get into some of that today. My friend Dan O, who is my manager for my franchise and helps me with this podcast, told me that you live up right in the epicenter of this whole COVID thing up in New York City. Where about in New York City do you live? I'm
in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is. Yeah, I guess it's the epicenter. So we're lucky.
What's it like there right now?
It's weird. We're doing all the things that we can possibly do. I haven't left the house in weeks.
Wow.
I mean, it's got to be, I don't know how many weeks. Time is getting kind of a little bit fuzzy.
Yeah.
It's got to be at least 6 weeks. My hair is interesting at this point. But I'm not complaining. Whatever.
Are you going to shave it?
I might. The only scissors we have are either, sort of industrial grade or they're like children's scissors. I have 2 kids. So they're like little green plastic ones that have zigzags along the blade. So,
well, whatever you do, you should film it. No matter what. I mean, that's just fodder waiting to happen.
Yeah, I think we might. I don't know. We're gonna just cross the bridge when we get there. We're all just looking a little shaggy. That's all.
Yeah.
But we're safe and everything's cool, and we get our food delivered in, and intense wiping down of doorknobs and light switches every night, and the whole thing.
Yeah. Now, how old are your kids?
7 and 3.
All right. So you have not just yourselves to take care of, but you've got their entertainment to take care of, and
oh my God, yeah. I spend a lot of time on the carpet building train tracks. Actually, we got a delivery this morning of 4 Thomas the trains.
I remember. Yep.
Some of the casted characters. So they came in today, and he's over the moon today. And luckily, our 7-year-old is a huge reader, and
wow.
And we have a small backyard, and I have an exercise bike.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we've been shot out into space in our house.
That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah,
we have all the comforts of home, and that's it.
That's it. Just the doors don't work anymore.
Wow.
It's very strange, but it's cool. I mean, the number one thing is trying to keep the kids feeling secure.
Yes.
Feeling safe and upbeat, which requires that we be as upbeat as we can.
Yeah, so what are you doing to take care of yourself?
Well, it's weird, I guess if anyone's ever been like on antidepressants or any sort of like mind-altering drugs or anything like that, you kind of understand that a lot of our decision-making and our attitude is chemical-based. despite the facts, I mean, we can actually make a lot of different things out of the same set of facts. So it's an act of will, basically to try and stay upbeat. Specific, for myself, for my wife, for the family, but also for my students. I still maintain a full course load that we're doing via my basement, via Zoom.
Yeah.
And nobody needs a depressed professor, So I treat it like a performance a little bit, but it's an act of will to take what's going on now, find the positive in it.
That's so well put, because depression or depressive behavior, or maybe just crabby behavior, maybe that's not the right way to say it. Being morose about things is contagious. If we're responsible for people like you with your kids, me with my kids, our students, like it's easy to quote unquote infect them just with that poor mood.
Yes. And they do not need it. Like
no one does. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I think about the different age groups that I'm in contact with. My parents are in their 80s, but my students are like in their 20s, like 21, 22 to like 25 or 6, and they're cooped up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know which is worse. And then there's like the 7-year-old and the 3-year-old. It's really hard. And it's more important to all of them to be a light than to really be a mirror of darkness, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound like poetic or whatever, but like you have to put some spin on the ball here, and hopefully that is as infectious as the depression or the crabbiness.
I love the idea of it's a force of will. I'm finding I have to do specific things to keep myself right. I have to move my body. And if I don't do that, if I just sit there, I go downhill pretty quickly. What doesn't help me, I found out yesterday, is that if I eat a half a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal, that didn't help in the long run.
Right.
It was really good for 10 minutes, and then it ruined the rest of my night. So that didn't work.
Yeah. The kids have puffins and graham crackers, and there's, and they tend to leave the stuff around, and, I basically am the stop before the garbage can for a lot of the food here. And that doesn't help. And I also have to say that I found out recently that my local liquor store will deliver.
Oh.
That has not helped.
That doesn't help.
No, that doesn't help. What has definitely helped has been the exercise bike. Like you're saying, getting your body moving. I've been reading a lot about walking, about how walking helps different types of creative work. And that's been really interesting. I've been reading this Atlantic article from Thoreau, basically, who did a tremendous amount of walking. And it was in the Atlantic in 1862 or whatever, because we have time to do this kind of stuff. And he's amazing. And walking has proven to be a chemical, it's a chemical change in the body that opens up the mind in incredible directions. In the way that tequila just doesn't do.
It's a longer burn, I guess, on the walking then.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you able to walk at all up there, or are you pretty much just in the house?
No. What I do is there's a little app called the 7-Minute Workout.
Okay.
There's that. And I have a exercise bike that I got from an uncle or something. It's 30 years old, but it works. It needed a 9-volt battery, and then it just popped back into life. And
nice.
Thank God for that. Thank God for it. It changes the chemistry completely. And it is a longer burn, just like you say. You do it in the beginning of the day, it's like caffeine, but better.
Yeah. Something I found recently that I would have never imagined would ever help is taking really quick cold showers. As cold as I can stand it. It sounds awful. First you take a warm shower, and then you kind of get yourself out of the water and flip it over to total cold. And then just put one foot in, and then wipe the cold water on your leg, and then get your hand in and do your extremities first.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for maybe 3 weeks now, and I'm up to, I can do maybe 3-4 minutes in there on total cold. Again, it sounds awful, but I've
tried it.
Have you tried it?
Yeah, I have tried it, and it is not fun.
No. What I'm learning though is that my body is acclimating to it, so that once I kind of, if I breathe deeply as the cold is acclimating through my body through the water, when I get out, I feel freaking clear and amazing,
Yeah.
even if I'm like completely foul. And so
Yeah.
I think I might need to up my dosage of that to twice a day.
Oh my God. It's like that kind of exhilaration that you've been chased by a bear but made it.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. And the bear is myself. Are you guys leaning into any music recently in the past couple weeks?
You mean my own or others? What do you mean?
Just like anything that you're listening to that's helping you through any of this?
Yeah, it's funny. Just the weirdest thing has happened. I pulled out my record player, which has been unplugged for a decade at least, and I put it on, and I have a stereo, like an old stereo, whatever. I put it all together, and I've been listening to vinyl in my crates. I found out that like it's not all mine. Like not all the vinyl I have is actually mine.
Surprise!
I think it's my parents. So there's like crazy stuff in there. There's my stuff, which is like the guitarists, like Joe Pass or Segovia and like Sabicas and like all these like guitar people that I was like learning from when I was learning whatever. But then there's like Bobby Darin and like Stan Kenton and like things from the 40s and 50s, like pop from the 50s and early 60s and stuff like that. And my kids love it, but I love it, and they're loving the physicality of it and also the intentionality of it. Like you have to get up and flip things, and you have to like pick things up and move things. There's like it's physical, and they have no idea what that is, you know. But they're really loving it, and they're actually listening harder.
That's interesting.
To stuff, yeah, it's really weird. But like everything in the house works. I don't know why I decided to regress to a technology that like it's not my biggest collection of music. I have way more CDs than I have vinyl. But my CD player, I don't know where it is, I had one and I think it's broken somewhere, but like it's the vinyl that I've gone to, which is really like the early stuff, like Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder is stuff like that. Early Elton John, like Van Morrison, The Clash. Like it's been fun, and I've been like actually putting them up on my Instagram story just to take a look at the artwork on the covers.
Right, and that's all untouched from Photoshop.
It's totally untouched, but like there's the scratchiness, and there's a completely different sense of of compression, of like bandwidth, of like all these crazy things that I'd forgotten about. I hate people who are like, oh, vinyl sounds better than CD or streaming or whatever. Like it's just all different, but like vinyl is very focused and it's very interesting. If you can get past the popping and scratching, it's a different listen. It's a very focused kind of bandwidth. It's been really interesting. Unintentional. It has nothing to do with being cooped up because, like I said, Spotify totally works. I have all of my playlists and everything available to me, but we just dipped into an older technology. Listening to like Muddy Waters. It's been really weird.
It almost seems like you should listen to Muddy Waters on vinyl and not Spotify.
Yeah, there's something to it. And then like, other things come up, and I've noticed this as a teacher as well. Muddy Waters, this is well before guitar tuners, right? Everything is wildly out of tune.
Oh wow.
It's hilarious. Dylan, like if you listen to like early Dylan, like if you play like Katy Perry and then you play a Bob Dylan song, they're completely different instruments. All the Max Martin stuff, the pop stuff from the aughts and the 10s and 20s, it's tuned to within an inch of its life.
Yes.
And I feel like Dylan was just picking up guitars in the corner of the studio, just going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this sounds good. Let's go. Turn it on.
Totally. Like the B string is like a quarter tone out. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. And then you realize like it's not about that at all.
Yeah, it's interesting how you put A against B and you can see the difference in vibe.
Oh yeah.
Just the sheen of it all.
Yeah. And the song form and the ambition, it's like a completely different time.
Yeah.
Like these Elton John songs, first, I don't know why I happen to have Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy by
okay.
Elton John, right? Those songs meander, they go into sections, and nobody's on a click track, like nobody's on a grid, like, and the whole thing is just moving with a completely different intentionality. So it's been such a crazy, it's been very crazy. It's just crazy. Maybe I'm losing it. I don't know.
It does feel like, I was telling my wife the other day, it feels like one long 10,000 hour day that we're in.
Absolutely.
It's like I go to bed and all right, I'm up again and I'm doing my day and oh wow, it's bedtime again. Okay, well I guess I'll go to sleep now. And
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
My students and people I've been bringing in as guest speakers, and these are also things that I've read. People are having like not wanting to listen to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like reading has been very difficult. I guess maybe it's just like concentrating has been hard. Have you been finding that?
I've been finding an utter lack of interest in listening to much. I don't feel like reading. I try to pick up my guitar. Like I force myself to pick it up and I can sit there with it, but there's not much inspiration coming. I was just talking to a friend of mine about this the other day, and I think part of it is that, at least personally, I'm in a regular state of fight or flight. So stress is up, even though I'm doing lots of self-care. Like it still spikes. All I have to do is like hear one sentence on the news, and it's popping back up again. Yeah. And I kind of know my own process, and if I'm driving the car and I'm like in that long trip zone of going up the highway where there's no traffic, I can drop in easy.
Yeah.
And I think I personally need that complete flow, relax situation for those kinds of things to happen. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people. Like it's having a challenge, just getting motivated to listen, to play, to create.
Yeah, it's funny because I listen to them, like this one pop group, the former students named Overcoats, did a Zoom interview for my class last week, and they were just like, "Yeah, we're supposed to be touring our second record, and we just aren't listening to anything, and we're kind of just staring at the wall a little bit." And I'm just like, I'm sort of wondering if it's that they're distracted or if they're like kind of recalibrating towards trying to find out something else that really matters, right? Like maybe they've been listening to too much garbage, and what this is a cleaning out. Again, it's an act of will to find the optimism in this, but like maybe they're actually listening to silence, say. Maybe they're just recalibrating their minds. Maybe we're all sort of doing that.
Yeah, maybe. I think part of it in me is that, so I have a band, we still play out. Mm-hmm. Having that next show is a motivator.
Oh yeah.
Having the tour that comes up, that's a motivator to really like get stuff together. And I think to see, that, music industry, how big of a hit it's taking, and the fact that we don't actually have an idea yet of when does it come back, how does it come back. No. Those things I know are in my mind, and I'm imagining in a lot of their minds too. But one thing I see in my daughter. So my daughter's 20. She had to come home from college. Basically, I had to extract her from it. She had a great job, friends, all this stuff. And all of it disintegrated immediately. Like it was within hours, her whole life that she was creating wasn't there, and she was back home again.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed in her, and she and I have talked about it, is that it seems like she's just like trying to hold on and waiting for things to go back. Yeah. Which is normal. And what I've been talking to her about is that waiting for this thing that we can't know yet is causing just that act of waiting for the thing is causing excess suffering, when what might help is accepting that this is how it is right now, and managing that as its own thing, and letting myself feel the sadness of that and feel the anger of that and all of it, but to admit to myself, this is what we're in now.
Yeah.
And then when it changes, then it will be then, and we'll deal with then when then is occurring.
Sure. Yeah. I feel like with a certain amount of experience, I feel like you can get to that.
Right.
And I think kids like my 3-year-old and 7-year-old are actually kind of enjoying it. You know, they get to see mom and dad a lot more. Right. And, you know, there's all of that acceptance is so much easier for them. But can you imagine, like, you have your band, you're on the come up hugely, you got signed, you have an album out, you got this big summer tour coming, and that's when this thing hits.
Yeah, it's miserable.
It's got to be really devastating for them. And that's the place where some of my students are at, you know. It
is devastating, and that's the truth of it.
Yeah.
And
but the acceptance of it that you're talking about is just it's hard won, but it's like it's the way out.
It is the way out, and it lets us, I think, this is just my opinion, it frees up my energy of, well, is it going to happen today? Is the news going to tell me the new thing today that's going to solve the thing?
Yeah.
And I know for sure, and this is just, I think, my middle age speaking, is that no, it's not going to solve it. And it will be wildly apparent when we can get back to some semblance of what we were doing before. And I think we're in a situation where, some of the things that we used to do won't work anymore.
Yeah.
Some of the ways of being won't work anymore. And that might be challenging, but might also not be all bad.
Absolutely. I completely agree. But, we got to get there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we have to keep our heads together. And that's going to be a different type of challenge at different age groups, I think.
I think you're right. And it's, what I'm realizing here at my house is we are just managing the moment. What moment are we in? How do we get through this one? Sometimes it's managing the second that we're in.
Absolutely.
And we don't always do it very well. It's life. It's just what's happening.
Sometimes at the end of the day, my wife and I will just look at each other and just high five each other. Just nice, good day.
Yeah, we did it. We did it.
Nice job. We made it.
I'm glad I'm in this with you. I was wondering if we could pivot over to songs, songwriting, music. Did you have a rock star that you wanted to be as a kid?
I didn't. I feel like the people that I looked at when I was at the age when I could have that were way larger than life. They were not human. I feel like one could have maybe aspired to be Kurt Cobain because he was kind of down a little bit. He was dressed like someone who was in the audience.
Yeah.
Sort of but to try to be, I don't know, David Bowie, George Clinton, Freddie Mercury, you know what I mean? David Lee Roth, whatever, people like that. I feel like that just wasn't even possible,
Yeah, they're big, big, big.
They're big, and they had incredibly high voices, It was
well, then there's that.
There's no way, it was impossible. And the guitar players were just blinding, it just was too much for me. I could tell you the band, the aesthetic that I wanted was always Pink Floyd. I love that expansive, slow, sort of just filmic, cinematic almost stuff. Things like Dark Side of the Moon or Animals or something like that was that was the thing where that was accessible to me and was also possible. It felt somehow possible.
Yeah, they created these tapestries, these sonic tapestries that you could be inside of, really.
Yeah, and it wasn't rock star focused. It was aesthetic focused. David Gilmour wasn't in Plastic Pants and all that kind of stuff. It was really a band. And that was a little bit of a different thing. Yeah, so that was sort of the rock star that I aspired to. you know.
They really were kind of the anti-rock star.
Yeah, they're an ensemble, you know. Whereas like this, you know, whatever the Stones, you know, have Mick and Keith. There was like a couple of folks who you could really like want to be, or like, you know, whatever, Van Halen and people like, and further down the line,
right?
There, even Kurt Cobain, I mean, was like, you know, he was a guy, you know, he was a star,
Yeah,
even
true.
if he was an anti thing. But like real like ensembles are had a different sort of feeling.
Now, did they compel you to first write songs, or was there somebody else or some other reason that you decided to begin writing?
No, I didn't write. I didn't start writing until much later. I think the reason why was just crushing self-doubt. I mean, there was just no way. That was just, it was those, I think it was those kind of rock stars that just intimidated me right out of the whole idea.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't, I'm from Long Island. So like, we didn't like, I just feel like that's all we kind of knew, you know, was like these outsized MTV characters, you know, these cartoons.
Cartoons is a good name. Yeah.
You know, like I didn't have that. But what I did have was the ability to play. So what I did was I played in a lot of bands, and I basically interned as a guitarist for lots of different bands. And I was able to watch other front people sort of dialogue with audiences, and you could see what's working, what's not working, and you sort of learned on stage. So if you were getting booed, you were getting booed, but it wasn't you really getting booed. It was the other guy getting booed.
Exactly.
You know, he was the writer / frontman or whatever. She was the writer front woman. So it was different, but it was like an internship. And then I feel like it was after learning by their side, I slowly gained the confidence to do it.
I could at least go up there and get booed. Jeez.
Oh, look, I've had fruit thrown at me. I mean, there's no doubt. I've been hit. I'm sure you've been hit with something. I mean, like, you guys have played.
Oh yeah,
thousands of shows. You know, like, I'm not saying they were aiming. I'm just saying like stuff gets thrown. You know.
Yeah, stuff gets thrown. I mean, I was in an early band, but you know, back in teen years, where we actually got thrown out of places because we sucked so bad. They're like, you know what? You can stop playing. Here's your $30. Please go.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've had not so much that, but like, you know, since I kind of went with an acoustic guitar, but a love for Ani DeFranco, who's pretty loud.
Oh sure.
I would go into folk sort of clubs and songwriter clubs and just watch the sound man just bring the faders further and further down to try and equalize how loud I was being, to the point where like it was basically off and I was screaming, you know. Wow. Like so it got into like, and then, you know, that's how you never get booked again, you know. So yeah. Like it was just a bad fit, lots of bad fits, you know. We've all played the full rooms and empty rooms.
True.
Which is cool.
Yeah, you need to know what each feels like, I think.
Oh yeah. The empty rooms sound better, I have to say.
Well, yeah, and you know, and there's no distractions either.
Right. Soundcheck always sounds better than the show. I don't know why.
So is your creative process different now than it used to be?
Yes, it is a little bit. Depending on what you mean by used to be, it's like I try to keep the same sort of regimen, but the context has changed tremendously.
What's it look like? Take me through, like, you're creating something. How's that go?
Yeah. So when I'm lucky, I don't use an alarm, but I wake up for some reason really early, regardless when we go to sleep. So got the coffee. The coffee has been set earlier and is already done. So it's like gas and go. I journal every day, and that's the root of the whole thing is journaling.
Yeah.
I make that mandatory in my classes, and I just, I tell them to go 3 pages a day or 10 minutes a day or whatever it is. I make it mandatory that they do it in longhand, and I do it in longhand as well.
Ah.
And then the journal will basically unearth any of several art forms. Basically, I'm sort of like a multimedia person, and I feel like music accounts for a small percentage, really, of all the stuff I do.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously it's journaling, so most of it's garbage, right? But there are songs that come, and there's a book actually that I'm writing right now that has come directly out of it.
Oh, that's great.
I don't know, it's an invention, or it's a dialogue with my kid. How am I going to tell them about the things that kids ask you about? Why is the sky blue? I should really check on that, because I'm going to get tested later. So stuff like that will come out of the journaling. And yeah, I think that longhand is important because it can go into drawing. It can go into, I don't know if you've checked out Carl Jung's journals.
No.
I feel like he has a series of journals that he didn't want to have come out until after he died. There's illustrations and crazy stuff like that, illuminated, William Blake sort of manuscript, the illuminations and all that kind of stuff. That can happen as well. I let it go. I just let go. Music is a small portion of the whole thing, but every once in a while, and it's a little bit like going fishing, I guess. You don't know you put the rod in the line in the water, and whatever comes up comes up. Could be a boot, could be Moby Dick.
Well, and what I'm hearing you say too is that you have to put your boots on and go to the water every day.
That's the only thing. And I feel like for my classes, I've read so much about writers who talk about their process, and it's almost the only thing that they agree on.
Yeah.
Is that it has to be a practice. It has to be a routine. It has to happen every day. Whether it's Stephen King on writing, he writes, 10 pages in a legal pad per day. That's minimum, right? Or it's like the Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way, where she's like 3 pages a day of morning pages, and you've got to do that, whatever. Straight down the line. I've interviewed lots of artists and producers and stuff like that. They all say the same thing. They all show up. Trent Reznor, right? I was just listening to a podcast of Trent Reznor talking. He gets up every day and he's like, let's make more scary music. It's 2020 and he's still doing that, which is amazing because it comes out. It's amazing. If you've read Jeff Tweedy has a autobiography.
Okay.
He talks about the same thing. He just goes in as if he's like a scientist, and he goes to the lab every day. And he's like, let's go blow some stuff up. Maybe something great will be here, and that's it. It's the routine, and it's the curiosity behind the routine as well. Like, I want to go, so that's the kind of thing that I feel like all artists will agree on.
Yeah. And I think when you do that, it really gives you a chance to reflect on kind of where you are in yourself at any given time.
Yeah.
And if you have that ability to be brutally honest with yourself, then I find that's when the juice happens. Like, that's where all the good stuff is, in that really raw, honest, sometimes embarrassing stuff.
Yeah. Oh my God. The idea of embarrassment is so interesting. I have, these art school students who have a lot of walls up and everything. And it forces me to be the biggest idiot in the room so that the bar drops low enough that they will open up.
Yeah, you have to model it first before they'll trust you.
Absolutely. If I come in stiff and formal or whatever, it's just going to be a stiff, formal day, But they, again, it's an act of will to sort of make stuff possible, So that's definitely part of it. And embarrassment, I call it bravery. And if I feel like a particularly brave song comes out, I will, I'll recognize them for being brave, and I feel like it goes a long way towards the next song being a little bit more brave, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, because as the listener, we just want to hear what's real, because sometimes we as the listener need you as the writer to say it for us.
Yeah, Definitely. What is it? There's that Pete Seeger line, right? Just ignore the facts and tell the truth.
There you go. That's a good one.
So good. So good.
I mean, one of the most honest lines that in one of the songs of yours is that, I just make sure I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Arecibo?
Yeah.
So she said, "I don't like to waste my time, but you seem teachable." That's like the first line of the song. And I immediately thought of like, that's probably exactly how my wife Tracy thinks of me. Like, oh,
sure,
this guy is teachable. I'll keep him.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny because Arecibo is actually a radio telescope in Puerto Rico that is featured in Contact, the movie by Jodie Foster.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably my favorite movie. It's definitely my favorite movie. I mean, it's a terrible movie, but it's my favorite. I don't know. But yes, it's the same kind of feeling of this, like looking for a signal, looking for signs from out there,
right.
So anyway, I won't give it away, but the alien arrives. Anyway, sorry.
It's an excellent song. I was totally jamming to it this morning.
Thank you.
One of the things I love about what you do is you have this ability to place the listener right into the song with you. What can you tell someone who's trying to unleash that in their songwriting, but having a tough time getting there? Is it just a journaling or something else?
Well, I do think that journaling is part of it. And if there's a first draft that I feel like is getting somewhere but isn't there yet, I'll definitely tell them you should journal on this. Here's a prompt for a journal, that like take us to this particular place. But it's funny, you also mentioned that one line as the first line of the song. I stress to them first lines of songs, and I'll jostle around their arrangements in search of the pregnant line that will take us somewhere, something that works via implication, because once something is implied, the other shoe has to drop. We're interested, we're hooked. I always look for that first line for them, in the way that's like, the car crash in the first 5 minutes of a film, or, in a crime fiction, like there's a murder takes place, like in the beginning, and then the rest of the film is whodunit. So those first lines are really important. So when they can't access or they haven't reached it yet, that's one of the first places I'll look is what's the first line? Are we starting somewhere that will warrant the journey to an endpoint? And then also, like, let's take a look at the chorus. Do you have the central sense of what the song is wanting to be about? Because sometimes they'll have the sense of the song, but it'll be like the third line of the second verse, and they just walked past it, But I'll ask them to journal on that third line, or whatever line it is, to find out open up what the story is really about. And don't be afraid to revise 100 bazillion times. You didn't get it right the first time. Nobody gets it right the first time.
Right.
Every song on any chart has been revised more times than you can possibly believe. I was just reading Walt Whitman revised Leaves of Grass his entire life until he died.
That's so funny, because my next question is, how do you know when the process is complete?
Oh my God. Well, that's another thing. I mean, these are all it's so funny. These are like the questions that they ask me, and I'm always like, oh God, I'm stumped by that. So when I get stumped, I just go reading, right? And I was just so I read a lot about that, but to get to the most concise answer to that question, there's a short story writer, George Saunders, and he has like the greatest line ever. He's like, ending is stopping without sucking.
There it is.
Right? I mean, that's it. I mean, that's kind of it. It's just like, if it's starting to suck, you've passed the end point, pull it back. But there's so many questions as to like, how do you end it? Do you end it by reframing the beginning with a twist? Or, that's something that a lot of songs do. They'll reiterate the first line.
Yeah.
And they'll sing it again at the end. But like, now it's different because you've gone on this journey or whatever. But regardless of how it ends, if If you've stopped before you started sucking, you've done a good job.
And I've seen it possible to over refine where it
Yes.
maybe sucked maybe 4 weeks ago, and then it got good, and then it's sucking even worse than 4 weeks ago.
That's a heartbreaker. But at least what I say to them is, you're under no pressure usually to release. So have the versions, sit them next to each other and have them fight it out, over time.
Yeah, there you go.
Let them fight. I mean, the great thing about all the different revisions and versions that we can do with things is that we can actually go back to the one before, right?
Right.
So that's a great thing. So overshooting that is not really the sin that we think it is. But to that end, what you're talking about is another thing that students will do is they'll have a great idea, but it's not totally finished yet. But they try to pass it off to me as like a skit or like an album track or interstitial kind of in between kind of thing. And I'm like, dude, come on.
No.
Like, yeah, if that's one thing, I mean, let it be that. But like, I've never seen an interstitial song that I've pushed not blow out into something much better it's just getting to the effort.
Yeah.
And the effort of revision and, the admission that like, it's not done yet,
And it. You can feel when it's just not hitting yet. And then when it does, it's palpable.
Yeah. I occasionally will allow students to give all their disclaimers up front. Not because any of the disclaimers work, before they play a song, but just because I want to hear them admit that they know it's not right yet.
Yeah.
And that, because it just helps them,
Sure.
And the work of revision is really it's very much tied, obviously, to is it done,
Sure.
Also your filters. Sorry if I'm like rambling, but
no, this is great.
The people who you ask, that's such a key component of this is like, who do you trust to give you feedback you can use, so your mom, not a great call.
No.
Right. She just loves you, so that's not really the most critical listen usually, or she hates you, whatever. She doesn't like anything. So why do you play anything for her?
Yeah.
But
you're
like
never going to please her.
You're never going to please her. You should never have started writing songs. Whatever.
I thought you were going to be a doctor.
You would have been such a good doctor. So anyway, who's trustworthy?
Yeah.
For you. Doesn't have to be a musician. Maybe it shouldn't be a musician, but just a good listener,
Sure.
I remember playing a song, and I had a riff, and my daughter at the time was like 4. And I was like, I'm going to play this riff in a gradually shifting tempo until she starts dancing.
Oh,
and when she starts dancing, that's how I know it's the right tempo. Like, I don't know. If she were 5, it would be a different tempo. You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea. But like, it was enough to work. It was compelling enough. It's a defensible kind of idea.
It is so, like she's a pretty open filter. There's not a whole lot in there other than what's natural.
Totally. And how children still fall in love with the Beatles is beyond comprehension to me. They love them. My kids know every word.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did it. I don't know what that is. But it's incredible.
Maybe we all need to go to India for a while and figure it out together.
Maybe so, or write with Paul. I don't know.
Or write with Paul. I mean,
yeah.
It could just be that he's a genius and they're all geniuses. I don't know.
I don't know. But there is something there, and there's something that really evades anything that's sort of anything intellectual. It's something more than that.
So I know that you teach songwriting at NYU's Clive Davis School of Music and also at Columbia. What are the most rewarding parts of the work that you do there?
I really like the interaction, which is why this is very difficult for me right now with Zoom. But it's more of a challenge, and I'm up to it. But it's when a song was in class and they release it, that moment, or they play it live, or whatever it is they do with it, that never gets old.
That's going to be a kick.
Yeah, I keep playlists of their releases, and I have them broken down by genre, and I have them broken down by like release dates and all of that for two reasons, so that they can meet each other, because, you know, now I've been doing it long enough that a freshman might never meet a freshman from 5 years later. You know what I mean? They're coming across different times and different schools as well.
Sure.
So I want them to know each other. So I want them to be able to write with each other and work with each other, tour with each other, and that kind of stuff. So I put these playlists together so that they'll meet with each other. But also, if a music supervisor or a publisher comes to me and they're looking for a type of song or a type of writer, I can hand them a playlist and be like, "Oh yeah, here's a resource."
Wow, what a great resource!
Right? Like, I need a dance track that sounds like Robin. Great. Here's 40. I do try and curate them, but I also try and give everybody a shot, you know, because they earned it. And I mean, a lot of the stuff is just amazing also. So it's not hard to curate.
Yeah, maybe you can share those playlists with me, and I can put them on our on the podcast page and do our part to put those out there. That would be great.
What genres do you want?
Give me your best of.
I will do that.
That'd be fantastic. I'd love.
Yeah.
I would just love to hear them.
It's really fun. I mean, some of the stuff is way out. Some of the stuff is like pop, but some of it is like completely bananas.
Great.
And yeah, and I really I don't make a distinction between those in the class. Either it works or it doesn't work. You know? Either you stopped without sucking or you didn't. You know?
Yeah. There you go.
When it comes to an end, I'll take all I can spend and buy a few rounds for all my new friends. We'll drink till we drop, we'll cry till we stop, we'll sing till we're no longer scared of the clock. Here's to the end of the world. Drink up with your eyes open wide. Here's to the end of the world. I'll see you on the other side.
So, if you don't mind, let's pivot to Dano was telling me about you have a sister, Melissa, who's also an accomplished singer and Tony-nominated Broadway star, and that your dad is an avid piano player.
Yep.
What role did your family play in your musical development?
My dad really, obviously, as the dad part of the family, really had probably the most outsized influence. We've always had a piano that's just a little bit too large for whatever room it's in, you know, because he needs a big piano, and he always sort of has, like, that's his sports car, you know.
Yeah.
He still to this day takes classes at Juilliard and performs with orchestras and all of that kind of thing. So there is like a feeling of classical music, of romantic music, which is kind of what he's into. Also Debussy and Satie and like sort of the early 20th century stuff.
Oh yeah.
As long as it's harmonic, you know. If it once becomes discordant, he wasn't into it. But I mean, as a result, you know, I have a song on my last record that is a complete and total Tchaikovsky ripoff. I mean, you would never know, I would think, but I went there because, like, that's just sort of part of the basis of my upbringing, which is cool. I mean, my sister and I, Melissa, and I have worked together in the past, and we've definitely done stuff. And when it comes together, when it makes sense, I think it works really, really great. You know, we've played live and all of that. I mean, she's very Broadway, you know, it's a completely different thing.
Sure.
You know, but Broadway was changing before it closed. A friend of mine was working on the Alanis Morissette musical. My guitarist was in Beautiful, which was the Carole King musical. I actually got a former student into Mean Girls, the Mean Girls musical.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so he's been touring. He had been touring with them as their guitarist. So Broadway is sort of like changing, you know, what it means to be in Broadway.
Yeah.
So like it's always been a thing. We've had family bands when we were kids, and I'm trying to do that now with mine. My kids are kind of musical, so I'm fostering it as hard as I can without being a jerk about it. But they already know all the words to Yellow Submarine anyway. I don't even know them. I had to print them out. So we've been starting to do that as well. So it's a good basis, you know. It's been a really good basis.
Yeah, and you'll never regret that.
I don't think so.
You know, my kids are teens now, and just all that kind of stuff from their childhood is some of the sweetest stuff.
I can imagine. And I want both of them to be drummers. I told them that. By the way.
Good. We need more drummers for sure. We need more good drummers that can groove and serve the song. So teach them that part.
Absolutely, 100%. They're so funny too because they love drums, but they also love disappointing me. So they're like, "I'm not going to be a drummer, Dad." You know, and then I find them drumming, and I'm like, "Haha."
Yeah. Well, you don't listen to anything they say; just watch what they do.
For sure.
Exactly. With your dad, you mentioned earlier on he's in his 80s. Is that right?
He's 80.
80, okay. If you even know this, how does he use music to keep his mind sharp, to keep his health up? It's one of the things that we talk about on this podcast a lot is how music helps health. Do you see any?
Sure.
Do you see him doing any stuff like that?
Oh my God! Well, he's amazing. He's annoyed because it's shelter in place. He has his share of pianos he can deal with, but he needs to open up. He's a doctor, and he wants to get his practice back.
Yeah.
But he's 80, right? And he's still, that's where his mind is. It's funny, just last week there was an interesting article about Peter Beard, the wildlife photographer,
okay,
who had Alzheimer's and ended up just wandering off, and they found his body. But they're the same age.
Oh, wow.
And we're the same class at college. My dad now, and you know, we worry about it. We worry about the cognitive abilities of both of them and everything. He can play a 20-minute Medner piece just from memory. I mean, he does it all the time. And like, whatever they say about like, you should do crossword puzzles, you know, when you're older and it's good for your cognitive health or whatever. He's like, I don't have time because I have to learn this other piece, you know, and the complexity of those pieces is huge. So his mind is very sharp, you know, and I'm sure the music has an outsized influence on that. It's amazing to see other people in his age group and what he's able to do mentally. It blows people his age away as well. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, so you've got 10 fingers, fingers and thumbs, and you got to get all those working in concert with each other while reading a page of dense black dots.
Yeah.
Or just memorizing all that stuff and all the different neural connections that have to be built for that even to happen.
Yes.
And then how they get reinforced, you know, when the fingers move, when the eardrums perceive, when the brain perceives what the eardrums are sending it, what his eyes are looking at the time. There's just so many processes that happen at one time for someone to be able to do that extensive of a difficult piano piece. That's not surprising at all, and I'm so glad to hear it.
Yeah. What's interesting is that his mental capabilities are such that they are outstripping his physical capabilities, and he deals with his sort of arthritis or like he had like a tendon operation, and it changes his reach, you know. And some of these like hotshot pianists from back in the day had really big hands, and they would show off their reach within the arrangements.
Okay.
He is unable to do some of those things, so he has to change his technique. He knows the notes mentally, but has to change the physical technique to reach them, which is an added level of cognitive ability, the adaptation
Yes.
to the physical capability. It's amazing. He talks about it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it ends up being better for him, even though it's probably frustrating that he can't do the reaches that he used to be able to. It's better for his brain that he can't.
Right. But also, I mean, like, I feel like as artists, I feel like we all have to adapt, to our abilities. That's what we've been doing the whole time.
Yeah, adapt or suffer.
Adapt or suffer. I feel like people like Joni Mitchell's voice, right? Billie Holiday's voice, Dylan's voice, like how the music has changed based on some of the physical capabilities. And like the music hasn't gotten worse. It's in a lot of ways it's deepened.
Yeah.
But the technique has changed, I think Brian Eno was talking about this once. His voice started dropping and all of a sudden he realized that he had a low C. He's like, I never had a low C. I lost a few on top and I gained a few on the bottom. So I wrote for those notes instead of the notes I used to be able to reach.
Sounds like a win.
A huge win. It's a movement of style. It's growth.
It's also that force of will thing that you talked about earlier, like not getting, not letting the fact that things are changing take you down, but pivoting. All right, so it's not this anymore, but I'm going to pivot to this, and now it's going to be this for as long as I can do that.
Yes.
But you seem teachable, half open mind, or at least one that's reachable. Just cause I'm smiling doesn't mean that I'm having fun, but don't think I go around showing just anyone. The Arecibo, come on inside. The Arecibo, come on and go for a ride. Ride. Wanna go for a ride. Wanna go for a
Not to put too fine a point on it, I feel like we're at an inflection point culturally right now. Like there's a pivot, a hard pivot that's occurring. It'll be interesting to see to what. I think that's where we are.
I'm with you. That makes the most sense to me. And we've had these, I tell my kids, we've had things like this throughout history. We just haven't had one in your lifetime. Like you haven't seen it yet.
Right.
But since we've been alive, we've seen all kinds of pretty intense things. This is different. I would argue that something like 9/11 is just as pivotal and if not more intense.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, especially for people in New York.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually had a show in New York on 9/10, the night before.
Oh wow!
And it was this weird sort of just lackluster show. It was a place called the Village Underground, and the toilet had broken, and so there was water on the floor. It was like one of those nasty. It was just like one of those nasty shows, whatever. And I muscled through it, and everything was fine, whatever. But I woke up in the morning, and everything had happened, and as a byproduct, all of my songs changed. Some just completely fell by the wayside, revealed themselves to be shallow, and others deepened in ways that I had not even intended. Just everything changed.
That's fascinating.
It was so weird. I can't even. I changed my whole set, and I feel like I changed my approach to writing. And I try to talk to my students. I mean, I know that they want pop music and they want to do all that kind of thing, but there's real need to do things that matter. It's super fun. Fun matters. Escapism matters. But I push them to get to the center of whatever it is they're talking about, and to do whatever it is, to do it as if and because it matters. It was that 9/11 sort of moment that sort of really drove that home for me. Maybe it's happening again. I don't know.
There's a lot of wisdom in that. And, going through something like a 9/11, going through what we're going through now. Personally, I had a couple near deaths last year. Going through those kinds of things, I would venture to say that not only is it important to do those things that matter and that are real, but that at the end of the day, like whenever that is, you can look back, and if more of your moments were things that really mattered, it's going to be easier to kind of look back on that life than if it was, wow, I just really wasted my time here.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. That's what this moment is about, I think, for me. And for you as well, it sounds.
It's helping me to hear that you changed your entire set, because that just kind of sparked me as, you know what, that's something I could do to be inspired. Like that I'm going to go in and just make some changes. Some things I'd never thought of making before. That's really good advice.
Yeah. Well, here's another one that's been very strange. At NYU, I received a grant to further my creative process or whatever. And my thought was to give my songs, my stems, to my students and pay them out of the grant to remix my material.
Oh.
Right?
That's great.
Yeah, because, they're off the road. They're suffering. I'm able to pay them, and they're able to, I don't know, flex their muscles and do their work and create. And that circuit, I feel like, is mutually inspiring. And so that's another really fun sort of moment. It's part of like changing up your set, like you're saying.
That's an outstanding idea, to let somebody take your ideas and let them see those ideas through their eyes and their ears. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And pay them.
And
the payment isn't coming out of my pocket really, because it's a grant, I suppose I could use it, but like, this is what a great way to use it. I feel like I don't need it to eat right now. So spread it around,
Yeah, that's a great mindset. I love that. So you and we shared many stages throughout the years.
Yes.
One show in particular was Woodstock 99.
Yeah.
Which very interesting show on a lot of levels. Can you tell me, for you, what was that show like?
Well, for me, it was my coming out party, basically.
Okay.
I had just put my debut album out. And it was, I think, my first gig after that debut, and I played it solo, and I played it alone. I had like nobody around, like there was nobody, like I had no second person, no help, no stage help or whatever, you know what I mean? Like no tour manager, So I just got up there, and I was in between Ben Lee and Bijou Phillips,
okay,
if you recall. I don't know. It was hot as hell.
Yeah, it was burning.
And you just knew something bad. This was bad. It was bad. It was people yelling about peace and love and also breaking stuff. So it was very confused. I think ill-conceived. It was on a military base, this peace and love thing. It was super crazy. And then, of course, if you look at the history of the music industry, I feel like Woodstock 99 is probably at the peak of the industry, right? So that was my first album and first show as a signed artist.
Yeah. And
there, from 99 till today, it's basically a straight line down.
Maybe it's your fault, Mike. Maybe it wasn't.
It might be. People were just talking about Napster, and like I was like autographing blank CDRs that they had gotten, and I'm like, thanks for downloading it, but thanks for stealing it, but hi,
Yeah. Oh.
sign my mailing list. I don't really know what to do about that. And like they would say things like, you buy this CD, I'll buy this CD, and then we'll just burn each other copies.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In front of me, like it was totally cool. And of course that was then, and here we are now. But like Woodstock '99 was the jump off point. It was my launching pad. And it's been a tough orbit. But cool, I'm alive. Everything's good.
It seemed like it would have been like in the idea of it seemed really cool. I remember getting excited. Wow, we're going to get to go do this. There'll be all these amazing bands there.
Oh yeah.
And I remember, playing the show, and when we were playing that show, our singer had just let us know that he was going to go do his solo thing. So we were all kind of fighting. It was just an awful, awful day. And there we are. I just remember this vividly. I'm like staring at 500,000 people. Like there's just all like this mass of people. I can't see the end of all the people.
Right.
And they're spraying them down with hoses because it's so hot. And we're playing these songs, and people are dancing and all this stuff. And I just remember this awful feeling. Like, man, how can I be feeling awful right now when I'm getting to live this dream that 99.9% of people who want to do music would give a finger for,
Yeah.
And it's just fascinating how perspective is. It's like it seems from the outside like, wow, this would be the best, and yet just that one day of experience, it was the opposite of that.
Yeah, it's a very pivotal. Again, another weird pivot. I opened a lot of those solo shows that the lead singer went out on.
Mm-hmm.
And it was another whole saga that was really, really wild, just all around. Perspective just being what it is, context being what it is. It was great to go, and it was, Woodstock, I was like blown away. I couldn't believe I was going to play it.
Sure.
And then, you, then I get calls the next day, like, are you alive? Did you burn?
Did you burn?
Are you on fire? Do you have all your guitars?
Oh.
And everything's cool. Everything's cool.
Yep. Pulling out of there, the great setup. We had the tour bus, and we had the satellite TV on the tour bus. So we're watching Woodstock as we're pulling out of Woodstock.
Right.
And I can see on one of the shots, like it looks in the distance, it looks like one of the speakers is smoking. And I'm like, is that speaker on fire? What the heck is that over there? And sure enough, they were actually burning the damn things.
It's incredible. What I guess it was Red Hot Chili Peppers handed out candles.
Oh, did they really?
Somebody handed out candles. Like,
that was a design flaw.
Yeah, I know. Here's the thing. Candles for you, but water's $4.
Yeah, free candles for everybody. Here's some lighter fluid. Oh boy,
so funny. Anyway,
so what are you looking forward to? So let's fast forward. We're able to play out again. We're back to doing the things. What are some things you're looking forward to?
Looking forward. A lot of things. I'm looking forward to getting back in rooms. Period. Yeah, rooms at all.
Yep.
With other humans, maybe.
Yes, any room.
That'd be great. Yeah, any room. These remixes that my students are putting together. Is really fun. As I said, I'm writing a book, and I'm excited to continue sort of studying that and writing it, and hopefully offering it to people in a way that hopefully helps. Those kind of things are going to be interesting. I'll be teaching at Yale in the fall.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
I don't know. Future is weird. The past was weird. The present is kind of what we've been talking about. So I'm cool with the present. Sort of like those are the lines that are out in the water, and going day by day, I think will be interesting.
Well, I hope that you'll let me know about those.
I will.
And in fact, what's the best way for people to learn about you? I'm going to include all of your social links on our page, but like if you have one spot that we could send people to.
Errico.com.
Okay.
MikeErrico.com. Also, either one works.
Yes, so ERRICO.
Yes.
MikeErrico.com.
Yes. I'm active on most socials. I think I'm going to skip TikTok.
Okay.
I think it's time. I think it's time to not. I skipped Snapchat, and I think I'm going to skip TikTok.
Okay.
I don't know. But all the others, I'm on.
Perfect.
That's where I'm at.
Mike, really, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. And, I hope you and your family stay safe up there. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great work. And maybe we can do this again sometime. This was really fun.
I would love it. That'd be great. And much love to your family as well.
All right, Mike. Hey, take care. Thank you.
Cheers.
Well, that's it for today. I appreciate you tuning in. Remember to come see us on our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Just search Jim Donovan Sound Health. Now, before you go, I'd like to let you know about a free resource I made for you. It's called the Sound Health Newsletter. In it, I share the latest research in music and health in an easy-to-understand form. I also share beginner-friendly music and wellness exercises that you can use every day to feel your best. When you sign up, you also get discounts and first access to all of my Sound Health products and events. Remember, it's completely free. If you'd like it, just visit donovanhealth.com and enter your name and email address, and I'll start sending you new issues right away. While you're on the website, you can also read full transcripts of this show and check out a ton of other valuable resources. If you have any feedback, send me an email to feedback@donovanhealth.com. All the information presented on this show is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Lastly, come and visit me on our Sound Health Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube channels. I'd love to see you there. The Sound Health Podcast is produced by OmniVista Health Learning and Donovan Health Solutions. For Sound Health, this is Jim Donovan. See you next time.